Mando Fandos, welcome back to the Mando Fan Show. This is episode 6 that we're calling Betraying the Betrayer, and we'll get to why in a second. This is going to be all about Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian called The Prisoner. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John. How are you? James, as always. Not as always, but most of the time joining me. And we have a special guest joining us, a big Star Wars fan from the band Bayside, Nick Ganbarian. Nick, how are you?
Wonderful. Got a real luck of the draw today. We're actually playing about 4 miles from my house, so I'm able to do this whole show just from my couch, which is great.
Right on. Awesome.
It's so killer. I'm so glad that all worked out, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And it's funny, a lot of people already, when we announced that you were coming on, said, "No way, love Bayside." So they're getting to blend their love for rock and Star Wars, which is always a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that.
And speaking of which, before we get going, what are your thoughts on Ludwig's music for this show? Are you digging it or what?
Yeah, I do. It's I think an overall thing, which maybe we'll get into later. I think that the whole show is like pushing things in different directions, whether it's script wise or video or music, just to, I think, ease all of us into accepting some new stuff. And I think that includes the music for sure.
I think that's a good point. That's pretty fair. James, you've been you started off cold with it, right?
Yeah, I wasn't like a huge fan, and it's starting, I think with anything, the more you kind of listen to something, more you're invested, you start to kind of learn it and feel good about when that, tune kicks in or whatever. I will say this week's episode particular, they kind of like urbaned it up a little bit.
Yeah.
There was like the same beats with like this kind of undergroundy gang kind of beat to it. So I was like, so they're kind of even switching that up a little bit just for this episode.
Even the title screen had a little bit, like you say, a little bit of a beat on it, which I found interesting. But all right, guys, so what we do here is rate the episode, and because we probably won't see his face, so we use the Pedro Pascal face scale to rate each episode. 0 to 10. Halves are allowed, so you can do half of Pedro's face. All right, so I will start. I bounced back up this week. I thought this was the best episode since The Sin, Deborah Chow's chapter 3. So I gave this one a solid 8. Nick, what did you give this one on the Pedro Pascal face scale?
I went 7.5, and this is my first time doing this, so I don't have really a reference. This was a very base reference, but I was happy with it. It seemed, my household, me and my girlfriend are really, we've been getting into Star Trek lately, and this seemed we've been getting into Star Trek. She wants to even the scales in the house. It's tipped Star Wars, so she's like, oh yeah, but what about Star Trek? So, so this seemed very like, unserialized 1 hour story, which Star Trek does that a lot, so... nice. Yeah, I was cool with it.
Now, out of the 6 chapters, does this one rank as one of your favorites or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it started strong, even though I felt like the first episode did seem like a pilot to me. I still enjoyed it, and obviously the big reveal at the end really brought it together. And then it seemed like it was going to be way more serialized than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And now it's veered off for like 3 episodes, I feel. So, So we'll see. No, I did enjoy it, though. It's cool.
All right. James, what did you give this one?
Surprisingly, I don't know if it's surprising or not, this is my highest rated episode.
Whew!
Okay.
Yeah, this is an 8 for me.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I love episode 3. I think that's most people's highest rated episode, but I actually think I got more. This is what I want more out of the show. Whereas I think episode 3 was really good, but the reason it excels was the ending. And this was just like the whole thing. I was just like, yes. Yeah. And that's awesome. And that's awesome. Right. So I had to give it higher than that one, which had one really amazing scene. And this was, to me, just like all the way through.
Okay. So a solid 8 for you, James. Interesting. All right.
Solid 8.
That rounds us to a 7.8 between the 3 of us, which is pretty solid. I think last week. Which one was last week? Which episode was that?
Where they're on Tatooine. I don't remember what it was called,
yeah.
but yeah.
That was my lowest rated episode, so this was a bounce back for me.
Yeah, I would for sure go that route also. That I feel like I've been talking to my friends about it. If that wasn't on Tatooine, that like held the episode together for me. I mean, cool stuff happened,
I agree.
I'm gonna go on record and say that Toro dude was like the worst acting I've ever seen in Star Wars. So
I couldn't agree more.
It took me out of it so hard. I just needed to get that off my chest.
I compared it to Jeremy London and Mallrats, like just mailing it in completely.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Now, we went to our patrons on patreon.com/resistance broadcast, and they also had an opportunity to rate the episode, and we averaged all their scores together. And James, they were really close to us. They gave us an 8. So they're right on par with us. They dug this episode a lot. No one cheated this time. No 11s, Spinal Tap style, no 12s or anything like that. We locked in at 8 there. And just remember, if you want to be featured on the show, tweet about The Mandalorian Chapter 7 next Wednesday. Yes, it's going to be out on a Wednesday because of that movie called The Rise of Skywalker, just screwing the whole schedule wrench up there. Use hashtag MandoFando and we'll get you on the show, just like we did with this person here, Brandon Skywalker, guys. Brandon Skywalk 3 said, I loved that we were in space this whole episode, and the job was fun and exciting and really felt like Star Wars. I hope to get back to the main story, though, in these last 2 episodes. So a little bit what you were saying there, Nick. There's only 2 left, and we're kind of wondering, like, what's the Baby Yoda thing? And so I feel like a lot of people are kind of maybe a little concerned, like, are they going to round this thing out or not?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure they know what they're doing, as judging that by the first 3 episodes, and then they're letting us know here's what else to expect. I feel like this is a very like almost like palate cleanser when it comes to Star Wars these days. It's like, here's where we're going. We'll still think about you guys who want to appreciate the past, but here's where we're going also as far as storytelling goes.
Yeah, without a doubt. James, any concerns that they're going to be able to give us some kind of formal season conclusion in the final 2 here?
No. Because I remember we got Dave Filoni producing this thing. So when you look at Rebels, almost every single season, there's like those episodes that people are like, well, I don't really know what to call this. I don't know if it does or doesn't add up, which in my opinion, all the episodes add up. They all go towards something greater. But every season of Rebels hits it hard at the end.
That's fair.
The last episode or the last 2 episodes, I don't know how they'll do it in Mandalorian live action terms, but it was always those last 2 episodes of Rebels were like a back-to-back kind of thing, and it was always just killer.
That's fair. And Favreau doesn't mess around either, so...
No.
Okay, and if you are a patron of ours, you get the light speed to the front, and that's what Sith Meg did here. She said 7.5 for me. Some may call this a filler, which is a big taboo word now. You're not allowed to say the word filler.
Yeah.
But I'm changing She said, I'm changing my tune. I think the Mandalorian may not know what to do with Baby Yoda and is just trying to survive by taking these jobs. He's just trying to survive as long as possible, and I think that adds a lot of weight to his decisions on saving the child. And she loved the heist job and learning a little bit of peppers about maybe the Mandalorian's past a little bit and what he was getting into. Because it sounds like he was a bit more violent back in the day than he is now. So something may have changed a bit for him. But yeah. All right, guys. Now to the part that you guys seem to love the most, Easter eggs. So whether that's an object or a reference or a callback to a quote, which the last episode was absolutely loaded with Tatooine, A New Hope-based fan service. Well, let's see what we got into on this episode. Nick, I'll start with you. Any Easter eggs or references, callbacks that you noticed?
I think my favorite one was... because at first I didn't catch why I thought it was cool. I was just like, oh, there's a mouse droid in this transport. But then I realized I think it's the first time that you'd see a mouse droid not on the Empire side. Right? I don't think that there's ever an instance where the mouse droid is on like a Republic or whatever. So to me, that was one where like on second viewing, I was just like, oh, wait, but this is a New Republic ship and I've never seen a mouse droid there. So So that was cool because it just registers as mouse droid, cool, whatever, and then you're like,
right,
it's on the other side now.
Right, and then it got blown to bits.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. That it was on the New Republic ship, especially because the New Republic ship reminded me of an Imperial ship in a way.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So there's more to that too, because I didn't actually think of that when it came to the mouse droid, but another Easter egg that I noticed is the Resistance, New Republic, I should say, security droids.
Yeah.
And they operate with accessing files the same way that K2SO does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, so the New Republic is pulling, stock, I guess, from Imperial Override. They're taking their ideas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're still moving forward with some of the stuff. Like, I guess it's kind of like, hey, not all this stuff was bad. They were just using it for the wrong reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We always look at it in the lens of that's the bad guys' stuff, and that's just stuff. It just happens to be the bad guys who are using it. That's a good point. All right, so one Easter egg I have here, Canto Byte, a reference to Canto Byte, a slot machine in Canto Byte. So I thought that was interesting that they brought that in. That's a quick one though.
Yeah.
Nick, got another one?
When they're walking through like the prison cells, you see an Ardinian.
Yes.
Which is very cool.
Yes.
Of course, Favreau's got to get that in there.
Oh, he has to.
Another one of his characters.
Yep.
Yeah, I love seeing that because they almost like revealed him. Like two
totally.
hands, two more hands,
Right.
and then you're like, oh, what is this? And he pops up and you're like, yes, that's awesome.
He didn't have pants
So
to
it's
pull
kind
up
of-
this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a Solo reference too, which is cool to
totally.
see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, too, there's I didn't have time to look it up, but there's like another alien species in there that always reminds me of like a Cyclops. I think that species has shown up before, but I left my notes in the wrong spot, and I had to like quickly try to revamp my notes like 20 minutes before we jumped on. So a little lost there, but you know who I'm talking about. And is that other guy an Imperial officer too?
It looked
It looked like they had the insignia.
Yeah.
I tried to pause it, and I was like, I can't really tell.
Yeah.
But that kind of would be cool to show that they're like capturing, these guys, and they're still like hanging around.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a hint towards, what's his name, John? Who's shown up in apparently the last two episodes.
Yeah. Oh, Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, Giancarlo
Esposito,
Esposito. Yeah. Moff Gideon, I think his name is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I still think is the person who rolled up on Fennec Shand at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, we didn't get that payoff this week.
Yeah. I thought they were going to pull a Last Jedi and start us off right at that moment.
Did you guys get into the whole the Spurs last week? I only heard about half of your episode last week, so did you talk about that?
Not a lot. What's your take?
Well, my take is it's funny. It's like I've never noticed that ever. Anytime I watch Empire, when I watch Empire Strikes Back or anything like that, and we're on tour right now, and we've been watching just slowly and all the movies, and somehow we watched Empire after we watched last week's episode, and that scene. Everyone was sleeping around me. I'm the only one still up watching Empire. And I hear Spurs on Boba Fett. And I'm like, wait a minute. And with the access right now, I pull my phone up, go right to the end of the scene.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was very interesting. So we'll see.
Was it like one of those like, oh my God, I think I just figured it out type of moments?
Yeah. And it seems like so like the hardcore fans are going to know that. That's completely flew over my head I've been alive 39 years. Like I've never even heard that, but it was so like in your face in the Mandalorian episode. And then because it was so quiet on the bus, I heard it and I was like, wait a second, is that the same? And it sounds like actually the same, like file, like the same audio from Boba Fett.
So that's the other thing too, is there's actually a second little clue that it might be him. And that is there's a radio antenna playing. It's like,
okay.
and it's almost, again, got to be the same exact file.
Yeah.
And when you hear that is in Boba Fett's like special edition cameo in A New Hope. So it's like that's two things that are like hinting at this character being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we will see, guys. We will see.
Yeah.
Maybe episode 6 will reveal that.
Yeah.
No. James, am I up or are you up?
It's either one of us, but I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna go for the big one, right?
Do it.
The X-Wing pilots.
Yes.
All right.
And who were they?
I say pilots because everybody saw Dave Filoni, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is it totally pulls you out of the scene and takes you out of the moment in the thing in the best way possible. I want to be ripped out of the scene for something like that. I absolutely loved it. Something that maybe people didn't also pick up on, the other X-Wing pilots are the other directors, Rick Famuyiwa and Deborah Chow.
Yep.
So, and they all have their little fun names, which are Jib Dodger, Trapper Wolf, which is Filoni, of course, and then Sash Ketter, I guess. So,
Okay.
yeah, but big cameos there at the end. Kind of did not expect to see that flying around in X-Wings. Who expected to see X-Wing pilots in the classic suits and everything? Yeah.
It's great.
Killer.
I couldn't catch, and because I only watched it full in once, which X-Wings they were. Were they T-65s with the 4 engines, or were they
T-65Bs? Yes.
Oh, okay.
So they are ones that show up pretty regularly, like Rogue One, the original series.
Yep.
Yeah. It's that era.
That was pretty cool. And when I watched it, I was like, wait a minute, is that Rick and is that Deborah? And then I waited for the credits and I'm like, oh, it is. That's so cool. Which means every director has a role on the show so far that we know of, except Bryce Dallas Howard, if I'm not mistaken, because even Favreau plays a Mando and Taika plays IG-11. So, process of elimination, unless I'm missing someone. But, all right, Gungan. They brought up a Gungan, and even Bill Burr did an impression of a Gungan, and not a Gungan with like a New York accent, like a Gungan from Naboo or whatever, Gunga City. So I thought that was pretty good. And by the way, I'll get into it more later. Bill Burr was great. But Nick, do you have any others?
What else did I write down here? I kind of felt like Zero was like a little Forlom kind of design, Forlom adjacent. And obviously Berg was like, they said Deveronian. So that was an old school reference. I'm just going through my notes here because I didn't feel like it was too heavy on the Easter egg thing. So, I mean, I think that's kind of it. I don't know, it's Easter egg for Mandalorian episode 2, I think, with the whistling birds. It's more like bringing that back. They all misfired, or he just missed this time.
I wrote that too. I think that was episode 3. That was when he was grabbing the child and escaping.
So my question with that is, I remember the armorer saying that they were like rare. So he used a bunch in episode 3, and then he just misfired or missed with a bunch of them. So is he out? How many does he have?
Watch him like go to it later and realize he's out when he needs him or something. Like the old West gun just being out of bullets. James, any more?
A couple little ones. So I first and foremost, this is kind of another thing too, but like this episode really pushed the Razor Crest as a classic Star Wars ship. Like that hunk of junk, and then it's like, but this thing's got a history. It's a great ship. You're underestimating its ability. And when I initially kind of was getting that vibe, my first thoughts obviously go to the Millennium Falcon. Then I also kind of moved into the Ghost. And right about that time when I was thinking, oh, that's kind of also a reference to the Ghost, one of the characters says, the reason we're using this thing, it's a ghost. Like says that word. So I was like, I feel like that's kind of a call out to the type of ship that, is very Star Wars-y in that sense. And they're trying to like bring the Razor Crest up. Like, I think also he references at one point, he's like, well, the crest, and he just kind of just like the Falcon, it kind of had that vibe to it. And it's like, as if people people know about the crest. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that ship. So I thought that was a really cool little nod there.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Also, and I had to look this one up, but when I heard her say Alzok 3, I'm like, that has to be something that's been referenced before. And it was canon referenced in Last Shot. Han and Lando talking about someone was the fastest on Alzok 3, and they're like, well, that doesn't really say much. So, which is funny because, we'll get into it, I guess, in a bit during our discussion, but Mando says that about being an Imperial sharpshooter, and Bill Burr has quite the snapback on that. But, all right, so that should be it for, I mean, we can go and say, a Twi'lek and do that whole thing again, but we do that every episode. The Twi'leks are everywhere. But Darth Krieger here, James, just like you, said, at Darth Krieger, said, another amazing episode, learned something about classic species, and I loved the Dave Filoni cameo. So I think most people did dig that, even though it was like, there's Dave Filoni in an X-Wing cockpit.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, now before we move on to our discussion, you guys are waiting for the Mando code this week. Hopefully by now you're aware of it. It's a contest that we're doing where each week we're going to reveal a number for you guys, leading up to a total of 6 numbers that will help you find your way to win the bounty. And the bounty is a Boba Fett Black Series electronic helmet. Now, I hope you paid attention to the last 3 weeks and got your first numbers. Otherwise, go back and watch. Give us those clicks. Watch the videos, get the numbers.
Watch the video while you're at it.
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
You leave a comment, subscribe, all that. But once all 6 numbers are out, we will give you instructions on what you need to do with those so that you can enter to win. So your mission continues right now. This week's number is 1. So jot it down, tattoo it, whatever you have to do, and we'll see you Wednesday with the next number. All right, guys, let's get into the discussion part of the show now. First, to warm things up, favorite shot or moment of the episode, if you have one. So, James, I'll start with you on this. Did you have a favorite single moment or shot that stood out to you that you were like, yeah?
Yeah, for me, hands down, 100%. Bill Burr walking towards the camera with the light flashing, and the Mando is like sneaking up. There was he was like walking away and they were doing the light, and I was like, I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to like have the light flick on once and he's right in his face. And they didn't do it. They did it in so much like of a better way, but it was like exactly what I wanted. And I just love the whole like the twist where the whole thing just goes to like a horror movie and the Mandalorian is the alien, you know what I mean? Like he's like hunting them all down, and it just reminded me so much of there's actually an episode of Resistance that's kind of like that. There's another episode of Rebels with like the fifth brother and I'm losing it now. Second sister, I think. Yeah, I'm losing it.
One of the sisters.
One of those sisters. So
right.
Listen here, sister. No, but that absolutely was my favorite shot. I literally was like, yes, this is awesome.
Very Dark Knight Rises, Batman style. Nick, did you have a favorite moment or shot or?
I mean, I definitely appreciate visuals. So I just think the whole, because I want to put myself in those. In that hangar where there's just like whatever the force field is, where like there you could just see right into space. You know, it's really the beginning and the end of the episode, but that always gets me. I know that it looks like that's in The Rise of Skywalker too, in that scene with Kylo and Rey. Like I want to experience that, you know.
Right.
And it seems like with the Galaxy's Edge, Rise of Resistance, I feel like there's a room or something like that you'll actually be able to get that feeling, which is very exciting.
When you go in and the stormtroopers all in front of you.
Yeah, so that's just such a cool, I wish that really existed where we could all just hang out in space and just see it.
Just immerse yourself in you're in Star Wars. I agree. Yep. Did you watch the video of the ride yet? The Rise of Resistance?
I don't know if there's an official one or anything like that. I've seen some people's like Instagram videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't really stay away from it. Not that I thought I would care about spoilers for a ride. I don't care about that stuff, but I just haven't really. Out here in California, it doesn't open for another couple of weeks, so I'll experience it when I get there.
And this is a good opportunity to mention too, Batu Crew, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is like your whole deal on Instagram.
Yeah, it's funny because I have some friends who are, on the level of Star Wars fan wise, but like I'm in a band. I don't have a day job really. So like I go to Disney by myself. I go to Galaxy's Edge by myself. So I was there one day with one of my friends and I'm like, oh, finally I'm here with somebody, and I'm like, I need a crew of people. And then I'm like in my head, like Batu crew, that rhymes. Immediately went to Instagram and was like, if this isn't a handle, I'm like making it a thing. So I immediately signed up and just like, I've been like here and there learning like very basics of graphic design on my iPad and stuff like that, and just started drawing up a little logo and stuff like that. And it's fun. I mean, it's really like, along with you guys, and we both know Black Series Rebels and like just all those people that like have like a positive community revolving around Star Wars. I was like, I think this could be something that like adds to it all, and it's something that like physically people can go to, which I think is cool. So, so yeah, that's just an Instagram I started, and I made a pin, I made a t-shirt.
All right, I gotta get on there then. Batu Crew on Instagram, because I don't go on Instagram very often, but I'll check that out. And I haven't been to. You both have been to Galaxy's Edge. James went once. You've gone 500 times, it sounds like. Yeah.
I literally live 4 miles away, so I try to go once a week. Right. Like, you could feel its presence. That's how
there
close
you go.
I live.
All right. At the very latest, I'm going to go at Celebration next year. So at least I know I'm going at least in August. And I heard they're going to be... They already, at least in Disney World, I don't know if they're all going to always match each other, but in Disney World, they're going to expand it. They have more like land behind it that they're going to add to after like episode 9 or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's the word here. Like acreage is a lot different here in California. It's hard to come by. So I think that they have it planned if it's going well. But I recently just went to the Orlando one for the first time, and it's way busier than the one here.
Oh, so really?
I don't know if they would. I would assume they would have to expand both. If they're going to do one, they have to do the other one.
Right.
But just as far as like the overall like busyness of it, it seems way crazier in Orlando. Not that it's not busy here, but it's a lot more comfortable here for sure. So
gotcha.
I just hope, I mean, I hope it's successful enough that they expand it.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, guys, make sure you check out Batu Crew on Instagram. Get on it. All right. My favorite shot, I feel like it's a cop-out because everyone loves him so much, but when little Yoda man thought he may have done something and he looked at his hand...
Yeah.
I laughed out loud, man.
It's so funny.
I was like, he is so much smarter than we are taking on, because he's like, wait a minute. Like, whoa, what I just did. And then obviously Mando is what did it. But I laughed out loud, and I think sometimes people forget about the importance of the humor in Star Wars, and that part just made me laugh a lot. So that was my favorite shot, him looking down at the
They're really
hand.
pushing buttons, man. That is the third time that Baby Yoda has been in the scope of a gun.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's like, geez, man.
Yeah, and I have to say...
They have used that like that secret blaster shot thing like 4 times, maybe 3. 4 if you count Toro and when he killed Fennec.
Right.
This episode, then Cara Dune did a behind the back blaster secret shot, and then the first episode Mando killed IG-11 with a fake blaster shot. That's like 4 out of
That's true.
6 episodes.
That's true.
They've used that.
All right. Well, let's use that as a good segue then, because I'll start the spoiler discussion off by saying that I was for the first time nervous about Baby Yoda's fate, because I did think they were going to leave without Mando. I thought Mando was going to get trapped, and then the next episode was going to be him getting like bailed out or taken out. So I thought they were going to leave with him, and I felt myself getting a little nervous at first for the first time, because in the other ones, like you were saying, I thought it was going to be a fake out or a trick shot or something like that. So how do you guys feel about Baby Yoda? Did you think Mando was going to get out of there in that episode? Any concerns there? Nick, I'll start with you, and then we could just have an open chat about the episode.
I feel like he got out pretty quickly, so I didn't have time to like worry about him. I'm glad that he wasn't. There's been like times in the whole series where he's just like a fumbling mess getting beat up by Mudhorns or whatever. I'm glad that he was just a badass this whole episode. He really just took care of business in every sense. I mean, I think maybe he might have got a knife in his shoulder from Chian once, but like that's about it. He kind of just destroyed all episode. So yeah, I wasn't really worried because I feel like it was probably under a minute before he got out.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Maybe I overstated my concerns. So yeah, what are your guys' overall thoughts on the episode, James? I know you gave it an 8. It's one of your higher rated episodes. So your overall take on this thing?
Well, I mean, I said earlier that I loved that there's like a horror element to it. I thought that was done really well. I liked the return of actually, like in a way, I think there was a little bit of fear that the Mandalorian was just going to be like a blanket dude who kind of walks in and always owns the room and that's it, and there's nothing more to the character. And the episodes coming out after the first and one, just the first one really, like even at level 2 you're like, okay, this guy has faults, but it was really cool in this particular episode to see the return of them saying like, well, there's supposedly the greatest warriors in the whole galaxy and stuff, and like him really getting to show that by being able to take out all the people that he needs to on this ship, including the security droids, and they're showing exactly how he's doing it, and he's very unique in his ways. Like I thought all that stuff was awesome. It was really like a return to form to like kind of I think what we maybe had in our heads of like what the show was going to be. Like if this character was Boba Fett, you kind of would expect him to walk in the room and just like own everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that I love that, and just the wider picture of like this is the underworld, and this is how it connects to the New Republic as well.
Yeah, it's funny you call it like a horror movie because I did feel like aliens vibe. You're in this like ship in the middle of nowhere, Prometheus style, mixed with like Batman. Like he was like striking fear into these people and methodically taking them out, but not killing them. Like it's almost like his code is like Batman's code.
Using gadgets too, which is very Batman-like.
Right. I think that's why I liked it so much too, is because Nick, like you were saying before, he's been getting his ass kicked a lot in this series, and he's finally like Bill Burr, like when you get you try to size yourself up against somebody, and you're like, I don't know about this guy. After he saw Mando wreck house, he was just like gulped. He was like, all right, okay, I loved it. He was able to finally establish himself, and I that was huge for me.
The whole him hating droids thing was like big in this one too. Like they referenced it, and clearly, I'd like to think that he was he was having fun killing all those droids.
Right? Yeah, that's a good point.
He was like dismantling them basically.
Yeah.
And so we kind of touched on it, John. You mentioned a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit about the crew too that was put together.
Sure.
Because I think that she was great. I love the way that she just came across like I wish I never met that girl, like it seems like they were in some sort of relationship, but like she has all of his secrets, right? And it sucks.
Yeah.
She like kind of says to, why shouldn't I kill you right now? And then they're working together. It's just, I could feel that tension. And then on top of that, you have this relationship with Bill Burr, who, it sucks that Lacey's not on the show. She's been going on and on and on about Bill Burr. Then he shows up in the episode. She's not on the Mando fan show. But
she'll make up for it. She'll make up for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I just, Nick, tell me if you're feeling the same way, but like, I really liked him. I was kind of afraid, I kind of said some things like he looked like he was kind of just doing it, but when he brought it, I felt very intimidated by him. I was like, this guy sucks. Like he's not doing anything terrible. He's just kind of pushy, and I just don't like him. But that's exactly what he needed to be.
It's hard. I think Star Wars has that almost like crux where like the original trilogy was unknown actors, and then the prequels was you knew everybody basically, and it could take you out of it a little bit, you know? So seeing Samuel L. Jackson or seeing Natalie Portman, sometimes you could be like, that's Natalie Portman, that's not Padme, whatever. So like in this one, in Mandalorian, like I don't want to be taken out of things. I don't think Bill Burr did that to me. More so, I don't even know who this Toro guy is. I'm going to talk about him all this whole podcast apparently, but he took me out of it so much that I couldn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. So there is that. I feel like Star Wars, which is probably why they have John Boyega and Daisy Ridley as like the, you know, two of the main people. It's like they could have gotten bigger stars, I'm sure, but they wanted to have it be unknown.
Driver too at the time.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like he was the one person that, you know, you kind of did know. So, but Bill Burr, yeah, I think he played that role. It needed to be like a little bit of a jerky.
Yeah. I felt
bounty hunter dude.
I felt a lot of similarities between him and Beckett, which you have a known person, like we know Woody Harrelson, but he fit the role in a way from Solo, Beckett. And I got those parallels there from him. And I do think Burr did a great job. Like he's, you know, I don't think he's going up to grab an Oscar anytime soon, but like you said, like we'll dog on Jake Cannavale until the sun comes up as Toro, and he's Bobby Cannavale's son. I don't know how much he's done. I don't know if there's nepotism involved to him getting these types of roles, but I agree he did not do a good job as Toro. And having him sit in Han's seat, we went all through this last week. I was so I was so annoyed by all of that.
It's funny because I think I have my finger on the pulse of Star Wars negativity to see what people are complaining about each day, and I actually didn't see that much about them.
Yeah, just like, you and me. That's it.
Yeah.
And then Clancy Brown, who I'm not as familiar with as I guess I should be, played Berg, the Deveronian. He voiced Savage Opress in the Clone Wars.
Cool.
Which I thought was pretty interesting. So I want to go back and check out his episodes. James, I'm sure. Did you know that, James, or?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But that's a good one. That's kind of Easter eggy. And that was the thing is, we actually moved on from the Easter eggs before I got to mention once more. The New Republic officer is played by Matt Lanter.
Yes.
Yes. And he is obviously the voice of Anakin and Clone Wars and Rebels and Forces of Destiny. So I think he does it there. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we completely skipped over him.
Spot.
That's right. Now they didn't kill him, right? Did I?
I think he's dead.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Did she get him like in the throat? Because you don't see blood in Star Wars, so you're never sure if people are dead.
Yeah.
I think that because she's throwing those things hard enough that like from a far distance, they're hitting Mando and like knocking him back a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to think she's a killer, right? And in that moment, she's saying the best solution here is just kill that guy. I don't see how she like hits him with something that knocks him out,
right.
you know?
And Mando's the only one who wants to keep him alive. Like everyone else would be, seems like totally okay with him dying.
Speaking of which, I was surprised. I was surprised to see. I thought he killed them, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And then he came off the ship and he's like, I did what I had to do, whatever. I was like, oh, he got his hands dirty. And then they showed them in the cell. I was like, oh, all right.
I kind of like that, actually. That's the Batman approach.
I know.
Taking it above, like, it would be really easy for me to just kill you and walk away, but that's not my new life.
Right. It was the three of them sitting in Arkham Asylum in a cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. But what about the droid? How did you guys feel about Zero, the droid? Anything? Vanilla? To me, it was a little vanilla. But I know you brought up a 4-LOM comparison physically, but what about his personality, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much there. The only thing that I thought was interesting and worth like noting is that, and I don't know if I've heard it ever in any of the animation, definitely not in live action, but he referred to like non-droids as organics. I thought that was pretty cool. I hadn't heard a droid reference a non-droid as an organic, so that was about it. I mean, besides his kind of similar look to 4-LOM and then him referencing that, and he was kind of just like a accessory, I feel like.
Yeah,
I think that they did a good job with whenever they kind of highlight a droid in Star Wars, there's always this kind of dry humor that goes with those types of characters.
Definitely.
3PO, R2D2, K2SO.
K2SO
like
for sure, yeah.
And this particular character also kind of had a little bit of that vibe, you know what I mean? He's like interesting, like, you know, the way he's like reacting to things. There's the one thing in there and he's like, I'm better in every way and smarter or something, you know? And it's like, I get it. And they did a good job with that, because if it's too far, it feels weird, you know, then it's not Star Warsy anymore. So I think they landed the ship on that character's personality for sure.
Did they say who voiced it? Was there any like popular person hidden in there in a uncredited cameo floating around online or anything?
I missed it. If it's
I definitely looked it up and didn't recognize who it was. So if it was somebody notable, they're not on my radar.
So someone's not gonna like comment and be like, "You idiots! It was Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was the droid."
Bruce Willis.
Like, I don't know. Yeah. Jim Carrey, dude. That's why I can't believe it. So, and what about what's his name? Was his name Mark Boone Jr., the guy from Sons of Anarchy? Is that his name? He played
I don't know the actor, yeah.
But anyway, he I guess knew Mando, and he like kind of alluded to the shady past of Mando. But what did you guys dig that? Because he was basically the vehicle for this episode. Him being like the boss of this level of the video game sort of thing. What was your take on that guy?
Yeah, I didn't mind him. I think he, you know, like you said, I think he was like the to use the word again, like almost like the accessory, the vehicle to move the whole story along, and a recognizable person for sure, but you know, he didn't take me out of the universe. He looked like he could belong.
Yeah.
So this is Ran, right? I think his name was. And I think he did all right. You know, I wasn't on the show where you guys talked about the one lady who was like the mechanic.
Yeah.
I did not like the character. I wasn't vibing that at all. This was kind of different. I was like, okay, this guy feels Star Warsy, and I like the one thing about it that he kind of did well, I think, was from the very beginning, I had this like trust meets distrust, you know, or mistrust. I couldn't figure out if he's supposed to be an old friend or someone who, like, I don't know, is still holding a grudge or has a bigger plan, or only pulled him in to steal a ship or something.
Yeah.
And I think we're Lando, supposed to kind of, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah.
That is a good comparison.
You don't know what you're getting with this person, because the whole time you're sitting there thinking, like, I don't know, he seems friendly. He seems like an old friend. Obviously, Han wouldn't have went here if it wasn't maybe risky, but also trustworthy enough, you know?
Yeah.
But that's good. The comparison there.
That is a good comparison. I feel like the only people he can trust, like when I met this guy, I was like, this is not good. This is not going to go good. I just say, anytime a character tells you, I don't trust anybody, and then it's later on, it's gonna be like, I told you you shouldn't trust anybody.
Solo reference.
Yeah, right. So it's like, all right, you're gonna do something shisty, and then he like double crossed Mando, and Mando pulled the old Hucklebuck on him and left the tracker there, which was so cool. One of the coolest moves in the whole show.
He was very accepting at the end of the episode that the crew didn't come back. Mando was just like, you're not supposed to ask questions, right? He was like, yeah, you're right. All right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know, like he just moved on from that.
Yeah. That was very kind of gangster in a way.
Yeah.
Another thing that I didn't get a chance to look up, but when that alarm goes off or whatever, ticker, tracker, they say you have 20 minutes. And I thought, you know what? I should look at the timestamps on the episode. I bet everything happens in 20 minutes.
You think they were that literal?
Well, I think they could have been that literal.
That's cool if they were.
Maybe that's why, because there also is like, you'd have to factor in, well, he went into hyperspace and moved the tracker. Maybe they had to find a different spot. Maybe it took longer.
It's not the show 24.
All these other factors. But I thought from an outside perspective, I think it would be fun of the directors to say, at this point in the episode, we know we have 20 minutes left till the finale. What's a good number we could give them, an amount of time? And
that's
it's like,
cool.
well, let's just do 20 minutes. And they have 20 minutes until this thing blows up. And that's like a little like wink.
Right.
at the audience.
That's interesting. I definitely thought that was one of the coolest moments in the series so far, is seeing that he left that with them. Now, did he hide that on Quinn? Is that what he did?
I think so. I think he hid it in like his back pocket or something.
And what's funny is in the credits, because I always watch the credits for the art, because I think, and the music's really cool there. It looks like the 3 X-Wings blow that entire thing up. Like that thing in the art is like just lit up. Whereas in the show, it looks like just in the bay they blow it up, kind of like Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi when he blows up Tali Lintra and all them. So I'm curious if they did light that whole thing up or what. But what are you shaking your head about?
Just the Tali reference.
Oh, yeah.
Stick Tali in there.
Very
he
sensitive.
throws Tali Lintra under the bus all the time. Him and
Lacey more than me, but yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So do you guys think that whole thing got blown up? They didn't really show it exploding like a Death Star type of situation, but like, did all those people die, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
I mean, they could have died based off of those blasts. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's one of those... There might just be a standing order from Disney to just not let people die.
New Republic
when not necessary.
New Republic is feeling a little ruthless.
Yeah.
They're just like, go in, kill it, destroy it.
I mean, as far as they know, that distress beacon is hit, and that's a last-ditch effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We've seen a lot of movies. I mean, look at Avengers. They were like, there's a nuke headed to the city, right?
Yeah.
It just, at some point, the powers that be go, the best way to handle this situation right now, they hit the button. That's the button that says there's no getting out. Blow this thing up. So Mando, like Iron Man, link there, moves the target, I guess, to another. I got another idea. Don't close the gate yet. And so he takes the thing, moves it over to the bad guy's ship, and lets somebody else kill him. It's
right.
Pretty cool. I loved this episode.
I feel like there have been a bunch of movies and stuff where that happened. Doesn't that happen in The Rock with like the nuclear things, like the tracker, and they have it aimed at that instead of the city, it gets turned around to Alcatraz, and like, I love that movie. So I don't know if you guys like The Rock or not, but
did they, or did they just like shut him down so they like?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I just feel like that's a thing where like, oh, the tracker got placed here, and now it's it hits the bad guy instead, and
that's the comment, guys.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Is that a trope or not? Did I just make that up?
That is the plot. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're gonna come up with some always where that happened, where the bad guy shoots something and it turns out hitting him because they hit the thing on him, and that sort of thing. Or like Bugs Bunny, like when they would go away from the bad guy and all of a sudden he has the rocket or the dynamite trapped to themselves, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the more we talk about it, the more I really do like this episode, and I need to watch it a couple more times. It just has a lot of action, a lot of fun, a lot of humor. It really did.
Visuals were good with the ship, like leaving and coming in.
Visuals were good. Now, I'm curious, where do you guys think we're gonna go from here? Because I can't help but keep looking ahead, because I know we're gonna see Cara Dune more. I have this feeling that all the characters he met along the way, including for good or bad, are going to kind of round themselves out and have this big, showdown, Old West showdown at high noon, like including Grief Karga. He's still pissed off. Fennec Shan may not be dead. Where's Giancarlo Esposito's character, Moff Gideon, and then all the people he got to know, like will Nolte's character show up? So, Nick, do you think it's going to be like everyone he met along the way is kind of coming back in, or do you think it's more, like you said, less serialized?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a missed opportunity if they don't. I just wonder how, because he's been on a bunch of planets or systems at this point, like how do those people who were on, the first planet, like would Kuail wind up somewhere else, or like how would they travel, and for what reason? But that also leads me to, is Mando being tracked by the guild, or is it still the child? I've been confused with that since the end of episode 3, where the guild started to look, were they tracking the child or Mando at this point? So are people looking for Mando at this point? Like, is he a target from the guild?
I definitely think he's a target. But I think that if they're tracking someone, they're tracking the child.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that mean there's a tracker, like they installed a tracker in him?
I always,
I don't know.
From the first episode, I thought he's got to have something in his body. And then that got reemphasized when they were moving him different places and people were following him, including the planet with the people or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
The planet with the people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking
one.
about though.
Yeah.
The radar.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope, and like again, I think they showed in the first 3 that it's going to be serialized, but then they were like, we need to show that there's going to be standalone episodes or like sort of standalone episodes. So maybe, hopefully, as far as what I like, hopefully it is serialized, and just the strange, either it's an oversight or totally planned that it bookends Rise of Skywalker. Like, is there something there, you know?
Because, so you think there may be a tie-in?
I don't know. I mean,
we've been bouncing around that thought, so yeah.
Yeah, it's very precarious timing, I feel like, to have it, be the Wednesday and then the following Friday with Rise of Skywalker right in the middle. So, I mean, there might be a little nugget in there. I mean, it's cool. Again, maybe missed opportunity if they don't do that, but I don't know. I hope it goes back to the storyline for the next 2, and I'm sure the sentiment everywhere is I'm hoping that they're longer episodes. Because even these 43-minute episodes there's about 5 minutes of dead air.
Do you ever do
This was the longest episode though, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I still do the pause to see how much I have left, and then I'm like, oh no, only like a couple of minutes, and I know that's gonna be all credits, so I'm like, I'm at the end here. Yeah.
I actually did the opposit. I paused in the thing and I go, there's still 20 minutes left.
I paused too late. I paused way too late. Yeah. So James, Deborah Chow coming back for the next episode, her last thing before she directs Kenobi. I know you kind of said it may have been more of a draw the straws on who got to direct what as opposed to actual.
Well, this was Rick, and the theory came from that he had to do the worst episode, egg hunt episode.
The egg hunt, yeah.
And so I feel vindicated at least for his contribution to come back and do at currently now my favorite episode in the show.
Yep.
I'm like, boom, there's the Rick I know that could have done this. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So any thoughts, James, on where you think we're headed here? I know you think they're going to round it out. You believe in Filoni and his season finale type of storytelling. We have 2 to go. What do you think?
Yeah. So I think obviously we're gonna get Moff Gideon, Giancarlo Esposito. That has to happen. We know he's in the show. And then I think what I'm leaning towards now is I think the next episode he will probably return to the planet, and that's where you're gonna see Grief Karga and all the other bounty hunters. We've seen that shot as well. This is probably where you're also going to maybe have a run-in again with Pershing and the client.
I hope so. Yeah.
So we get that sort of explanation. And then Moff Gideon shows up as well. Maybe he's been hired by the client to hunt. Maybe that's where that whole connection is. But I think that maybe episode 7 ends with the cliffhanger, and episode 8 is when we're going to get IG-11 and Cara Dune show back up. And but that a little bit of a bummer there. Cara Dune only for 2 episodes. She max capacity right now would be 3, as if she's in the next 2.
Right.
But I just don't think so. I think she more likely will show up in just that last episode.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought she did a good job. Did you like Gina Carano, Nick?
Yeah, I had some people that I talked to had mixed feelings, but I thought, and that was mostly on like not a character, but a acting thing. I didn't see it. I thought she was fine. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of a, not on purpose, but I think we've all been misdirected as far as like she's doing press tours. You would assume she would be more than 1, 2, or 3 episodes. So,
I mean, they all are. Like, we got Nick Nolte, 2 episodes.
Carl Weathers,
Giancarlo Esposito, 2 episodes. We got the client. What's his name? The actor?
Werner Herzog.
Herzog. 2 episodes. Yeah. It's like maybe 3 on him technically.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of Werner Herzog though. They got to. He's been so good in such a limited amount.
Yeah.
Like just everything. I want to just every time he's on screen, I want to hear him say whatever he has to say. I want to hear.
think he was good.
Yes,
Don't
yes,
you
yes.
agree?
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. Well, that is pretty much it. Do you guys have any last thoughts on this episode or going forward to close us out, Nick?
I think this is humorous to me. When I think in this episode, more so than any other episode, you could tell when the child is clearly like a stuffed animal. Like, and it really has a lot to do with them like lifting up something that has no weight to it. They're just like they're lifting a pillow, and it's like hard to act. And I'm like, it's inanimate and it looks like you're holding a stuffed animal. And to me, there's like humor to like a low production value of that, you know, like I think it's like kind of like campy almost, because there is a part where he falls on the floor too, and that looks like they're also dropping a stuffed animal, but then he rolls over into like a CGI, and I'm like, that's more what I'm used to, but like
he does just fall flat.
Yeah. To me, there's like a campy humor to it that like, there's no way Filoni or Favreau are sitting there in like the editing room being like, perfect. They have to be like laughing, the chuckling when they see that. Yeah. And that's
even,
really it.
Even Eastwood in like American Sniper, an Oscar-nominated movie, had like a fake baby. So I mean, you know, it's you're right. I did kind of catch that when he fell, and it was just like very like when my son drops like a toy, just bang. Just like that. No bounce, no roll, no nothing. And you're right. I mean, that's so funny.
But even last episode when, I don't know the character's name, but when Amy Sedaris picks her up, and then when Bill Burr picks the child up, it's like very clearly like 2 ounces worth of weight in that stuffed animal. And they're just like...
That's funny.
That's funny. James, any parting words for Chapter 6?
No, other than just aspirations for the series, because I think that for me personally, I've kind of been on the roller coaster a little bit, but I think we have kind of agreed that like, the 6, 7, and 8 would be like that final 3 or whatever, and this would being the first episode in that, and me liking it as much as I can. I'm hoping, next week is another 8.5, then the next one's like a 9, or whatever, just like I keep just going up from here. So.
All right. Nice, man. All right. Last tweet from us came from @Wiser_David. And he said, huge improvement over last week. I felt the dynamic of the ensemble was a refreshing change of pace. So he dug that as well. Thank everyone who did submit their tweets and everything. And that's pretty much it. Takes us towards the end of the show. So, Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Plug away. So you have gigs coming up. I'm sure you can plug those and your websites and Batu crew. So just fire away, man.
Well, we're currently on tour, and we're about 3/4 of the way through. So we're heading up the California coast right now to the Northwest, and then a little bit of Midwest dates. We have a new record out called Interrobang. It's our 8th record. If you're into like punky / metally hardcore type stuff with no screaming, if that's not your thing, check it out. But our
Who
fans seem to love it
in a band, really.
James. Now, do you have a main website for the band?
I don't even know what it is. I would say go to our Instagram. That's probably yeah. It might be bayside.com. So just Bayside twice, but Instagram is just @Bayside.
Can I jump in?
Yeah,
guys, go listen to this record. I called Nick before and I was like, hey man, I might say something, but I have always been aware of the band Bayside. Never really listened. Because you were coming on the show, I was like, you know what? I feel let me check it out. Let me give them a shot. And I'm seriously up to like 30 listens easily. It's just been on repeat. I can sing the chorus of every song. I know, just telling you, it's such a good record. Seriously, go give this a listen.
Thank you.
Please.
I will.
Thank you. It's for sure something I'm proud of, and being in a band and collaborating with all the other members all the time and stuff like that. sometimes some stuff you're not so into. Sometimes you're really into other things. This one I'm for sure very proud of. But
you only get a record like that when band members have been together, for a while and they've been working together.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
It's our 19th year. I mean, this lineup's 12 years old, and it's our 8th record. So yeah,
Cool.
but that band wise. Follow there. My personal Instagram is Nick Bayside, and then like you guys said earlier, at Batu Crew it's just fun, and like it's not necessarily pictures of just like the Millennium Falcon over and over. I really try to concentrate on people having fun in
it's family.
Galaxy's
Nice.
Edge.
Yeah. We've all seen the Falcon. We all know what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on, man. Thanks so much. James, where can people find you, man?
Always on Instagram and Twitter at Meyer Trunks.
All right, and that's my son yelling in the background. He wants me to get out of here. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and I want to thank Star Wars Newsnet. And you could find us on the Resistance broadcast every Monday and Thursday. That's me and James and Lacey. You can find Lacey on Twitter at Lacey Gilleran. I'm sure a lot of you know that already. Got to thank our patrons, because this video would not be happening. Mando Fan Show would not be happening without you. So patreon.com/Resistance broadcast, especially our generals, Carmelo, Bryan Shalito, Andrew Staley, Neil Lowry, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shaw, David Probus, John Reese, JG Carr, Seth Keim, Micah Harrison, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you so much. Next Wednesday, we'll be joined by John Roca from Collider Video. So we're very excited to have him join the crew and talk all about this samurai show. Very excited to do that. So thanks for watching, listening, being Mando fandos with us here on the Mando Fan Show, and we will see you next time to talk about Chapter 7. So until then, we'll see you around, kids.